Welcome everybody back to the Mid-Level Media channel, and I'm doing something a little different today. I am reviewing, or we are reviewing, all of the Star Trek films. Most of them on 4K, some of them not. But yeah, we're reviewing all the Star Trek films, and I've got my good buddy friend Huck from Huck's Pop Culture Cafe here to help me do it.
Hey, Ken, let's
over
live long and
here,
prosper.
there.
Let's go. Yeah. Huh?
What's the symbol?
It's like that. Yeah.
Is it
There
like
you go.
this?
You nailed it. See, a lot of people can't even do the thumb. They go like this. I'm like, no, it's out like that. Live long. Like, you nailed it. Some people have to like tape their finger. You know that Zachary Quinto, when he was doing the J.J. Abrams movie, he couldn't do this. He's playing Spock and he couldn't do it. So he had
Really?
to glue. He used like spirit gum to glue his fingers.
You would think that'd be the first requirement to
It's
play
like,
Spock.
you're
Like you would
fired.
have to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, man. I've only seen the first Star Trek of the Abrams ones. It was okay. Did you like those?
For what they were, yeah. I mean, it sort of felt like they were taking Star Trek and turning it a little more into Star Wars, you know. So it's a little bit glitzier, a little bit more pop, a little bit more action, which isn't really what Trek usually is known for. It's usually known for those character stories.
I can say after watching all these movies, no, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not what it's known for.
There's definitely no action there.
But yeah, let me explain what we're doing. So this is kind of like a pre-recorded. We're on StreamYard. It's almost like it's alive, but I've never done anything like this before. I've never had anybody on the channel and done like a pre-recorded thing. So this will go up a couple days later. It may go up tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to put it up, but yeah, I reviewed Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This is the first time watch for me solo on the channel, and I was like, it would be fun if I had somebody on that actually knew what they were talking about when they were talking about Star Trek. And you know, because I get so many comments on stuff that I am not an expert in. Oh my god, you said this wrong, you said that wrong, you said this name wrong, you said that name. I couldn't watch it anymore because you said track instead of Trek.
Oh, they busted you on that, did they?
People's nerves.
I was not going to go there, but since you brought it up,
well,
I'm like, look, it's
Star Trek. And people got to understand, I'm a little Southern, so I got a little twang to my accent a little bit.
So Star Trek.
But he'll better come out sometime when I be talking about Star Trek.
Yes,
Star Trek.
Look, it's like just like when you say Jaws, it's not Jaws, you say Jaws. Right?
Jaws.
You got to roll with it, man.
How do I say Jaws? I say Jaws. That's how I say Jaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Trek. Right?
Great start.
And it's like I'll say Trekkie, right?
Yeah.
I can say Trekkie, but for whatever reason, when I want to talk about Star Trek, I always say, well, I feel like I say Star Trek. I say Star Trek. But yeah, I still, I guess, pronounce the A. But yeah, I need you here to keep me on track with how I pronounce Trek. Okay.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess, you know, before we start, you know, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. Also subscribe to Huck's channel. I will link that down below. Huck has some amazing content. You do trivia nights. You do tons of like Blu-ray out and about videos, collection hauls. You're doing a great series on your channel right now, having everybody, you know, pick A through Z movies and actresses and all that stuff. Yeah. So a lot of fun movie and physical media content on Huck's channel, and some good Star Trek content as well. If you're a Star Trek fan, you went to a convention recently, right?
Yeah, too. I also reviewed 2 and 6 the week it came out. I actually watched it. It was Star Trek Day on September 8th. So I watched both on Star Trek Day and reviewed them on Star Trek Day. Nerd alert. Yeah. And then back in February, they had this big old exhibit. It's a Star Trek exhibit, which is where I got this from. It's called Star Trek Exploring New Worlds, and did a full tour of that thing. So if you guys want to see all those props and costumes and all those amazing set pieces, go check out that video because it is awesome. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Yes, Lonnie, what is it? All right, I'll be there in a minute. Okay.
I love it. Love it. Bring that stuff tonight. But yeah, I'm happy to have you here, man. I haven't had you on the channel in forever. Yeah. So it was like, I want to talk Star Trek. And I was like, I got to have Huck on here. I feel like you're probably the top Star Trek fan I know in this space. There's a couple others, but when I think of you, I think of Star Trek almost first and foremost.
I
just
cannot
feel like
help but be touched.
yeah, I
Nice.
feel like you're a big fan. So getting it before we start talking about the movies, running them down. Where does this Star Trek fandom come? How long have you been a Star Trek fan? When's the first time you watched a TV episode, a movie? When did it all start for you in Star Trek?
Well, those of us of a certain age, we grew up with Star Trek. It came on in the afternoon, like after school and stuff. It would be like in that 6 o'clock hour. So it was always like before dinner and stuff. And I came across it. I was a big fan of anything sci-fi. So back in the time, it was Lost in Space and Star Trek and stuff like that. But Lost in Space was always a little goofier to me, although I love the robot. The robot was the best part of Lost in Space. The rest was like, human
I've
terror.
only seen the movie from 1997 with what's his name?
Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc.
With
Yeah,
Joey.
it had a lot of people like Gary Oldman and William Hurt was in that. Yeah.
The only thing they missed on that one is when they saw the older Will, is that dude with the beard and all that. They tried actually getting Bill Mummy, who played Will back in the show, and he was the perfect age to play it, but he wanted to play the pilot, like what Matt LeBlanc was. And they go, no, we need you to play Will, your character. And he's like, I'm out.
Really?
I'm like, wow, that would have really put you in a movie, which you don't do much of. And
yeah,
but
I just remember that was a bunch of like space spiders were like trying to kill them all towards the end. It's a pretty crazy movie.
Yeah. There's literally a planet they went on where it was vegetable people. Like a guy was literally wearing a carrot costume with his head cut out, sticking out. I'm like, is that a Halloween costume? I'm like, what is this? So, but you don't get that on Star Trek. Star Trek was a little bit more adult, even though we're kids. Like I was drawn to it because of, just the science fiction aspect of it. And the action, you got the phasers and communicators and all the props and the beaming. And I loved all that, the glitz and flair. But in the end, it was always those characters. I loved Kirk, Spock, McCoy, like all 7 of them. They were just so engaging. And I loved the whole, diversity of the cast. Even as a kid, like I didn't think anything of it. I thought, wow, look at all these cool people on the screen. You got the Asian, you got the black woman, you got the Russian, you got the alien, you got the Scotsman, and you got the Southern doctor. I mean, they're all mixed in there.
Extremely progressive for the time period, for sure.
Yeah, it was the only show of its kind doing anything like that. Plus, you had the first interracial kiss between Kirk and Uhura in Plato's Stepchildren. Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard about that before. So when does Star Trek come on? What's the first episode? I know it's in the 60s, right?
Yeah. In fact, September 8th is why it's Star Trek Day. That was the date the first one dropped. And they didn't start with Where No Man Has Gone Before. That was the second pilot. There were 2 pilots. One was The Cage, which Jeffrey Hunter was the captain. And he was a big movie star at the time, but it was too cerebral. Like it didn't click with like studio heads. And they're like, we want a more action-packed thing. We're actually going to have you do it again. And like unheard of, they went back and did a second pilot. And this was all greenlit. God bless Lucille Ball. This is all Desilu Productions was trying to find something that they could hang their hat on. And it was Star Trek. She thought this was going to be the thing that propelled them, ended up bankrupting them, sadly. But like, if only she could see now what she helped create by saying yes. Right.
Well, that's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. So you get the second pilot made, and that's when you got Shatner in there, and Shatner's just so full of like charisma and like swagger, and
it does make me want to go back and watch those older shows because he's good in these, but like these were like what 20 years removed from the original series. Actually,
it's only 10. Like it ended in 69, and then 79, the first motion picture came. So it was only like a 10-year gap. But yes, it's from the get-go. Everyone was sort of dialing in their characters, but from the start, you can see that Shatner just had it. He just knew exactly who Kirk was. So good.
Yeah, I mean that's probably my favorite parts of watching this series was the relationship between Kirk and Spock. Mm-hmm. Because it's so it carries through all of the films.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
And plays such an important part, I believe, to like every plot of all of them. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But so Gene Roddenberry, is
Correct.
That his name?
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry,
the creator of this entire universe and characters and everything. Yep. He's like the George Lucas or whatever.
He was the George Lucas.
I am wearing a Star Wars shirt because
I love it. See, we're showing that both camps can exist in harmony.
I find myself these days not too much of a Star Wars fan anymore. That's why I was trying to
I
jump
know.
teams. I was trying to see if I could get into Star Trek and jump over. I'm just not into the Star Wars as much. But yes, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan. I don't know, for me, when I was a kid, I was all about Star Wars. Like when those, I think from like 95, and it really intensified when I saw those special editions in theaters
Oh yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
97, because I was 12 when those came out. And I remember my dad took me to see all three of them, and I became a super fan after that. Got them on VHS and everything. But Star Trek, my memory of that is probably The Next Generation with
Yeah,
Patrick
it's a lot
Stewart.
of people's intro to Star Trek was that.
And it's really only because like I feel like they would play reruns or episodes of that like after the Saturday morning cartoons. So after the cartoons would go off, The Next Generation would come on, and I would just be stuck there watching that when it came on. So I would always like be playing with my toys or doing something while it was on TV. But I would always like be kind of paying attention. But to me, it was like when The Next Generation came on, it was like time to stop paying attention to the TV because
Yeah,
it's
right.
boring adult stuff that I don't care about. Um,
Right.
and that kind of carried through my teen years. And I just, whenever I thought of Star Trek, I just always thought boring. I want to go do something else. And I don't think I ever watched the original series, but were you a Next Generation fan? And
Oh yeah, like
Deep
I
Space
was
Nine, and what was the other one they had? Voyager?
Voyager
Yeah,
and Enterprise. Everyone always forgets to
Enterprise.
add Enterprise at the end.
When
I
the
was
Enterprise
definitely
was like early 2000s, right?
right, and
Like
it
that
only
wasn't
went 4
90s.
seasons, and then it
Okay.
was, and it was sad the way it ended.
Yeah, I know
But
everybody was, I feel like people were hyped up on that show when it first came out.
yeah,
And
well, so for Next Generation, I remember working at a TV station at the time, and we could download the trailers, the promos off satellite. So me and my friend Keith, we're like super Trek nerds. Like we got the trailer before anybody, so we're watching it like 1,000 times that day, and so we were just primed. We were ready that night on that premiere, and it was good. Like season 1 and 2 were had its moments, but it wasn't until season 3 kicked in when it really just found its legs. And you don't get that kind of opportunity now. If you're not a hit in season 1, you're done, right? To wait until a season 3 to really feel like you've got it, it just doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, season
yeah.
3 was filled with all kinds of great episodes. So I was a big fan of both. Still lean towards the original, always and forever, because it's Kirk, Spock, McCoy and company. Can't
So
beat that.
there's the original Star Trek show, right? And
Correct.
then we get
Yeah.
the movies. And then is Next Generation the next show? There was no other shows during that
Yeah.
time that I'm missing.
Well, there was actually, it's funny you say that. There was something called Star Trek Phase 2. They were going to bring Star Trek back as a TV show. They're going to bring it back, and they had like a different Vulcan and everything. It's like, you can't do that without Spock. You got to get that guy out of there, get Nimoy back in there. But then Star Wars came out, your little thing there, and it just blew up. And Paramount's like, what do we have laying around the studio that's like that? And somebody goes, Star Trek.
Well, that was
So
going to be
then,
my next question, because
yeah.
usually like when you have a hit show, at least from what I know, the first your first inclination is to go ahead and greenlight a movie. So it just surprises me that it took them that long to do a movie. Did they just always see Star Trek as a TV show and not as a something that could jump to the cinematic theatrical form?
Well, if you remember, like back in the day, there wasn't any TV show turning into a film. In fact,
Yeah,
to
that's
my
a good point.
knowledge,
Yeah.
I think this is the first television series to ever springboard into a motion picture, because now you have everything. You've had Avengers, not the comic book, but the Avengers with Emma Peel. You've had Mission Impossible, you've had Beverly Hillbillies, like Brady Bunch. Everything is now a film. But Star Trek was there first. In fact, they were even talking about, should we recast it with big movie stars? And they're like, no. Of course, now they're doing it, but there's a 50-year establishment doing it now.
Yeah, I'd
But
say it's close enough. It's like, why would you recast? Like you're right there where they're still kind of in their prime, not quite.
Oh, but
kind of. We'll get into that. But
I watched the motion picture like yesterday, and just to get back into the zone. And man, Shatner looks so boss, man. Like Robert Wise directed that with such, charisma, just professionalism, that the first time you see Shatner, a door opens up to reveal his face, and you're like, nice reveal.
Yeah,
not everyone gets a reveal.
Now that you brought that up, let's talk about Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So,
correct.
Um, Star Trek. Sorry. See, that's why I need you here, Huck. That's why
Nailed
I
it,
need
baby.
you. Keep me on track. So Star Trek the motion picture, I have not got my 4K in of that yet. It is supposed to arrive Saturday.
Mhm.
I could have watched the Blu-ray, but I just didn't want to watch the Blu-ray and then get the
Yeah.
4K and not watch it, because that's what would have happened. I wouldn't have watched it twice. So I'm kind of leaning on you. A lot of people told me to skip this one. Don't bother with it. Don't do it. Don't mess with it. It has nothing to do with the rest of these films, which I just found to be so odd. I was like, I cannot not get the first one. Like, that doesn't
Mhm.
compute or make sense in my brain
Yeah.
to start with number 2 in a series. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and order the first one. But it just so happens that that one didn't come in. That was the only one that didn't come
Yeah.
in. So I kind of had to start with the second one. And I felt okay about it because everybody said you didn't have to watch the first one. So what is it about the first one that just makes it so divisive? Why do people not like the first Star Trek, the motion picture movie? Was it like that when it came out?
Actually, I mean, I think people, especially Star Trek fans, they were ravenous for that. And it was actually a hit. It wasn't a failure, or they never would have greenlit Star Trek 2. But
Came out in 1979. Who directed that one?
Robert Wise. He also
Robert
did
Wise.
West Side Story, Day the Earth Stood Still, some classics back in the day. One other one, can't remember. But yeah, I mean, he was, a real go-to director. Oh, in fact, here, this is really fascinating because I have to share this with you. When I was watching it, I called up the bonus features a little bit to look at them, and this was a list. It says this was to Gene Roddenberry from John Poville. I guess he was maybe a producer. He says, I would guess the following people on this list will be unavailable, though they would make for a good director. And these are the names on their short list: Francis Coppola, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Robert Wise, William Friedkin, Judge Roy Hill, and Norman Jewison.
Well,
And to
yeah.
their surprise, one of these 7 said yes, and that was Wise. I was like, wow, that's a
So Spielberg
kick-ass
said,
list.
hell no, huh?
I don't even know if they got to them. I mean, Spielberg at the time, if you think, let's see, in that time frame, he would have,
Spielberg was blowing up at that time, right?
yeah, because he
I
would
mean,
have
he had done
finished
Jaws
and
and
Close
Close
Encounters.
Encounters. Yeah.
And then 80, he would have been making Raiders, right?
Raiders,
No,
and then
81. Yeah.
E.T., and then, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't even know if he was like,
Yeah, he
even
had
asked.
around 79, he had to be a very busy man. And he was also
Mhm.
helping Lucas with Star Wars and stuff at the time too, as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. So
William
motion
Friedkin, that
picture,
would have been interesting.
I know,
Interesting.
right? Spock, stop scaring the crew.
I
So,
always
yeah,
think of Friedkin as the Exorcist director. I know he directed so many other films. I need to check out some of his other stuff.
right. So it comes out, and okay. So here's why people. I'll just cut to the chase and tell you why people think it's don't
Okay.
waste your time. First of all, I rewatching it again. It is still, of all 6 of these films, it's the most cinematic because they spent more money on this than all the other movies. Period.
Yeah.
So the other ones feel like good, but they feel like a really good show that was given a big budget rather than a
I can
film
see
with a
that.
small budget.
I can
In
see
fact,
that.
and the sets are even smaller and stuff. This one, because they didn't repurpose any of these sets.
Even with Wrath of Khan, which we'll get to, like,
Yeah.
until you get to the end, does feel very small in scope and scale.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that the motion picture is much bigger, much grander.
Oh, very. And
I
the
imagine
music,
that they were trying to be like Star Wars at the time, right? Like, that was the
they
whole point.
were, but also try to tell it in a Star Trek way. So of course it is slow. There you go. Really? Hold on one second.
You're okay.
All right. So just let me know if you can't hear me over the dog.
You're good.
So it moves very slow. And what happens is I don't know if they were just like high on themselves with special effects. So they're like, let's linger on every effect for as long as possible, which is completely unnecessary. That's its downfall when you're watching it, is the unnecessary hang time on the effects, because the story they're trying to tell is actually a pretty good story. And
What is the story? What's it about?
the story is this probe. You haven't seen it. So it's this thing that can do it. is taking it's a I'm trying to say it without giving too much to you because I want you to like get into it. Anyway, this thing comes along and it's obliterating stuff because it's curious.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, like right out of the gate, it wipes out 3 Klingon battle cruisers, and they look boss. Like all the ships look great. It's all Industrial Light magic. So the ships look great, the angles, the lighting, the effects, it looks great. And so it starts off with a bang with this great music. Actually, it starts off in black. There's like I think 2 or 3 minute overture that Jerry Goldsmith did. And then the credits come on and then it says kick ass. In fact, it's the theme song they use for The Next Generation. Because when that show started, they didn't have a theme. They're like, let's use Jerry's theme song.
And that's the that's a good one.
That's great. So it's this thing that is taking life like that because it can. And so the Enterprise is the only ship close enough to go out and attempt to stop it, communicate with it, do something to make it not, because it's on its way to Earth for a certain reason. We'll tell you what the reason is, but it's on its way to Earth. It's going to go to Earth. And if it doesn't find what it's looking for, it's going to destroy all the humans on Earth. So they head out, they go to get it.
And it's got the whole cast in it, right?
Same got the whole cast. And here's a different thing too.
Is Kirstie Alley in it?
Nope. Her first one is in number 2.
Is in Wrath of Khan. Okay.
Yes.
And her last one.
I know. It's so sad because she was so good. And the thing is, you go from the TV show, which is very colorful. They were really taking advantage of that Technicolor in the 60s. But then the motion picture, the costumes are so drab. It's grays and whites and beige and sort of like blue gray. It's just like they're not attractive costumes. So you got to get past that, right? So you got that, lingering effects, things like that nature, but the story is nice. And the relationships, like you're talking about, the relationships between the characters are what really holds that movie together. And if you can, I was literally fast forwarding through some effects shots that I knew were not important, just so I could get to them talking again.
Is it like in Spaceballs when they show the ship flying in the beginning and it just keeps going and it's going for like 10 minutes?
Yeah,
is that what it's like?
Yeah. But it's not even like the ship. It's like they're going into these weird, the thing that they're trying to find. It's so massive. I don't think you ever get a bird's eye view of what the whole thing looks like. It's so convoluted that I'm like, what? I don't really know what I'm looking at. They're in this vessel of some sorts. That's the thing that's attacking. And it's just massive. It's so huge, but you have a hard time getting perspective. Like, well, how big is this thing? Because the Enterprise is about that big. And this thing is like this big, bigger than that. So you got a little bit of that to kind of wrap your head around that just doesn't really land. It's a little confusing, but the story is good. And I feel like if they were to make that story today, it would just move a lot quicker. It'd have a nice punchy, the ending was quite beautiful, because of certain characters. That's all I'm going to say.
But
yeah,
I guess this doesn't lead in at all to Wrath of Khan.
It's 100% standalone, man. And that's it. Because after they did it and Nicholas Meyer directed the second one, he says, we're doing a full redo costume. And now you get those really great maroon things with the button flaps and the collars, and the ship looks a little bit more attractive, we'll just say. So once he took over, he redesigned everything. And that is the look that owns that franchise until The Next Generation takes over. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So would you say the motion picture is your least favorite?
Because of the moments in it, the character moments, I still think after watching them all again, Star Trek V is my least favorite. And and when we get to that, we'll get there. But it's definitely not my least. I put it second to last for all those pace problems.
It was just so interesting. We're getting ready to get into 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, but just everybody commenting. I remember when I said it was talking about getting these. I don't know what video it was. I was talking about getting these. Just all the different combinations people were throwing out there. They're like, get 2, 4, and 6. The odd ones suck. And then somebody was like, get 2, 3, and 4 because the story connects.
It does.
I I don't know. There was just all these different get 2, 3, and 6, get 4, 5, and 1. I don't know. There's just so many different combinations.
Roll the
I was just
dice,
like,
pick them
I
up.
couldn't be any more confused right now. I will say the general consensus seemed to be get 2, 4, and 6. Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm going to disagree with here in a second when we start talking about them. But so I was just like, I'm just going to buy them all and just say F it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through every one of them because I've never seen it and I'm just curious. But
and you should. If you're curious to get into the Trek franchise, just check them all out.
Yeah, it's always felt so daunting to me to get into this franchise. It just feels so big. It's got like 85,000 TV shows and
it does. Yeah.
How many movies now? 13, 14, something like that, with all the next generation
10,
ones and the new
13.
ones.
Yeah, 13.
So it's 10. I feel like I've seen a couple of the next generation ones. I feel like I saw Generations and maybe Insurrection. I feel like I saw some of the ones they did in the 90s, but I couldn't remember them at all. But
okay,
all right,
yeah.
Let's jump into Wrath of Khan.
Right on.
Talk about Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This is the fan favorite, right?
It is. Yeah, it's the one they all
got my 4K right here.
Grail.
That has directors and the theatrical cut. Got the little sticker on there. But your thoughts on Wrath of Khan? Is this your favorite of the franchise, of the movies?
Well, first, which one did you watch? Did you watch the director's cut or the theatrical cut?
So last night I watched The Undiscovered Country and I watched the theatrical cut. I feel like I did the same thing with Wrath of Khan. I don't know if this is weird or not, but whenever it's my first time watching a movie, I like to watch it the way it was originally intended to be watched. So I have a hard time watching a movie for the first time with the director's cut.
Makes sense.
I watched the theatrical cut, I think, on Wrath of Khan, but maybe I got a wild hair at my butt. This was a couple of weeks ago. I watched the director's cut. I don't know. What's the difference? What's the big difference between the two?
Well, first, here we go. So this is where it all started. Star Trek, the Space Seed with Ricardo Montalban. Got the autograph right there.
Is that standalone episode?
Yeah. I mean, all the episodes on
everybody was yelling at me. You should have watched the Space Seed.
It's really good. Like Montalban is just he
was great in the movie. Yeah.
Shatner's already a good scene chewer, and then so is he. So when you get both in the same scene, just like popcorn, just let's go. But yeah, all the TV shows of the original series are standalones except one, and that's the Menagerie, because it's a two-parter. But that's the only two-parter in the entire original series. So when you watch this, there's no more references of Khan are made. So that's why
until the Wrath of Khan.
Like, I can only imagine. So after watching the motion picture yesterday, if they would have made this with the money that they made one with, oh my God, this would have been unreal.
Well, and do you know what the first one was budgeted at?
I don't remember. I feel like it was like
you're saying that Wrath of Khan they scaled back a little bit.
Oh yeah. Like the first one was like at the time like 30 or 40 million, which was huge for something in 79. And then this was, I think, under 20. I'm probably off on those numbers, but it was
very impressive still for under 20.
Yeah. But if you look at the effects, you'll see why. There's just too many effects in the first movie.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I love Star Trek 2, man. After watching it again, it holds up. God, it looked great. What'd you think of that picture, man?
Yeah, well, I was gonna tell again, I reviewed this one. I thought it looked fantastic. I mean, to be honest, not to get ahead of myself, I thought all of these looked pretty awesome. Every single one of them looked pretty great to me. Like all the space sequences, like just seeing the Enterprise in 4K, like every time when it shows up, like with the space in the background and all the colors and stuff. It looked beautiful. All of them look beautiful. Just great detail, all the costume designs and stuff. And yeah, just excellent. I think Paramount did a fantastic job on pretty much every single one of them. There's one that I felt like was maybe the weakest of all of them. And we'll get to that when we talk about it. But yeah, I thought they all look fantastic. But what is it about the Wrath of Khan to you that elevates it above the other ones? Is it Ricardo Montalban? Is it, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, their relationship with each other in this movie?
Oh, chills.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. I'm trying to remember stuff I didn't do much preparation because I knew that you would have all the facts down like that in your head.
Very good, Waddy.
I'm trying to think of the story real quick. Again, I know that Khan was in it, but also this is where Captain Spock like has a former love interest and like he has a son and this whole like personal family drama that's developing with him. Is all that stuff kind of play into why people think this one's the best, or is it strictly just because you have that strong villain in Khan?
I think it's you've nailed it. Like the reason this is so good is Khan is just one of the best cinematic villains of all time. He's just that good. And the fact that he can stand toe to toe with those
One
other
thing I want to bring up real quick is there's some like real extreme like body horror in this movie, like with the little things they put, the little centipede things they put in their helmet. And I'm like, God, this movie's like really getting a little horrific here. I wasn't prepared for that in the Star Trek movie.
The little creature crawls in his ear and it controls their brains. Yeah. Oh, that was intense. Like when you saw that, and that thing goes like, whoosh, whoosh, and you're like, and it drops on their face and it goes in the ears. Oh, that was like nasty.
It was a great scene though to set up Khan as a villain though, for sure.
Yeah. And again, great reveal. He takes the thing off the bottom of his face and he pulls it off. And it's just like boom, and then you're given.
So did you see this in the theater?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Now,
how old were you when you saw this? I don't want you to have to give your age, but you can say around your age.
Let's see. I mean, teens.
Maybe like 12, 13, 14.
Something like that.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
maybe around the same age when I saw that special edition
Star Wars. Yeah.
So was it a big reveal at the time? Was that a big reveal? Did you, I mean, obviously the movie's called Wrath of Khan, but did everybody know that it was going to be the same guy from that older TV show?
I mean, well, yeah, if you're a fan, yes, because when you go see the posters and the trailer comes on, you see that it's
okay. So they
him, so I knew advertising wise, it's like, Montalban, it's Khan. And the fact that they were able to integrate him so well with, let's back up a little bit. It's the Kirk, Spock, McCoy thing in this film that is absolutely phenomenal. I just love it. Like when I watch, especially the scene in Kirk's quarters and Spock's quarters when they're talking.
McCoy's the other older guy that they're with. I always forget his name. Like when I don't feel like they say his name enough.
Yeah. I mean, what they say is like Kirk is action, Spock is logic, and then Bones is the in between. So he's the one that needs, that both of them need. And so just that dynamic, I think, was written better than any of the other films, except Six, I think also had really good dynamics written for those characters.
Yeah.
But Kirk is pulled from Spock a lot in that film near the end, but he's with McCoy, which is funny.
Yeah, he's with McCoy pretty much the whole movie.
So I think it's all those things. He's a great villain. The interplay between the characters is great, and you got a new an introduction to a new character, Saavik from Kirstie Alley, who is just a fan favorite. People loved her. Yeah.
Now, what did she just get like too big for her britches or something? Because she was in Cheers, and that was a huge show. Is that what it was? Cheers popping off at that time?
I feel like it had to be something where like a little too big. Maybe the agent was pulling for more money. They wanted more screen time. So Robin Curtis ended up getting.
I thought she was good, but I had to figure out what her character was at first because I was like, man, she's acting so wooden. You can tell this is her first role because that was like her first role ever, wasn't it? I think it's introducing Kirstie Alley. I was like, oh, okay, she's a Vulcan. That's what the characters are. They're basically like emotionless.
Yes. She's half Romulan. So
she's half Romulan.
She's a Vulcan Romulan hybrid.
What's a Romulan?
Romulan, if you're familiar with the first,
I heard him say this stuff when I'm watching it, but I'm trying to figure everything out.
So the easiest thing to do is, you remember the J.J. Abrams movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember Nero, the one that was coming for Spock? The pointed eared guy that was coming to kill Spock. The main.
I'm going to shake my head yes, but it's been 12 years since I've seen the movie.
He's the villain of the movie. I only watched it
once. Yeah.
So Romulans are basically an offshoot of the Vulcan ancestry who embraced passion, like emotions and aggression, stuff like that.
Got a little bit more emotion.
And so that's why they are a little bit more emotive, whereas Vulcans have learned to knock that shit off.
And just be strong Vulcans.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Logic.
But yeah, I remember I watched your review on this one. And you were talking about, because this is a problem I have with it as well. You never get like an epic confrontation with Captain Kirk and Khan in this movie. Everything's
Yeah.
over screens, which to be honest, when I was watching, I kind of found it to be a little refreshing because again, it kind of hammers home the fact that it's not Star Wars. Like you're not going to get this big epic confrontation between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. This is something different. So I like that it turned into like a battle of wits and they were trying to outmaneuver each other in this like atmosphere of a planet. And all those shots were incredible. Just some of that. I know you said the budget wasn't as big, but I mean, some of the stuff they did in like the last 20 minutes felt like pretty big budget to me.
It's fantastic.
So they did
it was still ILM. Yeah, it was still Industrial Light and Magic. So
yeah. And I honestly, I thought that was some of the best, probably the best, little space sequences in all the movies I watched, to be honest. So
that was a great scene.
Some really great stuff. So
he thinks two-dimensionally.
It was good stuff. I would say this is probably my favorite of the ones we watched. Probably my favorite. So is this one your favorite as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. After rewatching them all, it definitely cements itself at the top.
I'll make you rank them at the end. So keep going. All right. Let's. So this one was directed by, who was it again? Nicholas
Meyer.
I think I called him Mayer in my review.
It's all right.
And I got annihilated for that as well.
Really? Gee whiz.
Nicholas Meyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nicholas Meyer, and he'll come back again in part 6. But let's get into Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. And also, I didn't get to cover the score, and this is incredible by who was it? James Newton Howard. Is that the guy that does the score?
Is that the Newton Howard one? Yeah, or is it Horner? I thought it was Horner for the second one.
You're right. I don't even have to look. I will trust you over myself. I'm trying to look right now.
Pretty sure it's Horner for part 2.
It's I can't find it on the back right here, but I'm gonna take your word for it. But yeah, the Horner score was incredible. Yeah,
I mean, when it starts, it's so because Goldsmith did such a great job with the motion picture, and then they wanted a whole different, like Meyer wanted a different theme for his, and that one is just as good. Like when it started, bomb bomb, bomb bomb, I was just like, oh my god, this thing is just like
it's a little reminiscent of Star Wars score, a little reminiscent of some John Williams I kind of heard in there, but I felt like it did enough of its own thing to be different and distinguished itself from it. But I was hearing a little Star Wars tinges in there. I felt like when I was listening to it, but I thought it was great. That one, he did the score for the third one too, right?
I think so. Yeah, because I know 4 had someone that was Newton, I think. Newton Howard. But it's James Horner. Had to make sure.
Okay, so James Horner did the first 2 excellent scores, but yeah. So I feel like a lot of people crap on Search for Spock, and I really like this one.
Yeah.
I really like this one quite a bit. I liked how it picked up right where Star Trek 2 left off. And I don't know, I dug the story of them having to go and, Shatner's passion, Captain Kirk's passion for finding his friend after losing him. I don't know. I really like this one. I like the whole, what was it? The Genesis planet stuff thing.
The Genesis planet.
The planet that was like accelerating and developing. And that's what happens by the end of it, right? Doesn't the planet like explode or something?
Yeah.
It developed into extinction.
Yeah, because the sun put some sort of, matter into it to cheat a little. And that's what was causing the rapid aging of Spock and the planet.
Okay. You're going to have to explain the ending to me in detail when we get to it. But
okay.
But yeah, what is it about that? What is it about this movie? Why do fans not like Search for Spock that much? Or is this something that's only developed recently? Was it something that you remember seeing in theaters? The movie came out in 1984, which is a great year for movies. We've already covered that. But did you see this in theaters? Were you disappointed when you saw The Search for Spock?
It wasn't as good as 2. But I still
I won't say it's as good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you got freaking Doc Brown in this movie as the villain. How can you hate on that?
Genesis.
Was this
petting his
this had to be
dog
one
and
of his
stuff.
first? Was this like one of his first big theatrical roles? Because I
Yeah,
know he was in the TV show Taxi or
Taxi.
whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, this was the year before Back to the Future, so
right.
that's kind of interesting
So
to see
yeah,
him in the villain role.
but I mean, I enjoyed it. But again, this one's I one of probably the most intimate of all the films because it's all about going back and saving your friend, right? Stealing the
I
ship.
really like that. Like I said,
We'll
my
get
favorite
it.
part about watching all these was the relationship between him and Kirk and Spock, and I thought it was at its peak in this movie, honestly.
Yeah, and it's Nimoy wouldn't come back unless he haggled a deal. They said, "Okay, Nimoy, we're coming back for Star Trek 3." And he goes, "I'm dead." And of course, it's science fiction. So like, hang on, we have a plan. And he's like,
Haven't
"No,
you
no,
seen the Friday the 13th franchise? You're basically
yeah,
Jason now.
exactly." So yeah, they gave him the director's chair. So he's like, "All right, I'm in."
Had he
And
directed anything at this point?
not
Was this the
really.
first time?
First
Because
directing piece, and then he did 4, and then he did
yeah,
like 3 Men and a Baby, which was a huge hit as well.
okay. So he did
Yeah,
other stuff after Star Trek.
yeah.
All right, yeah, very cool. I thought he did a good job. I thought he did a good job directing this. I couldn't. I was trying to figure out like what is it with this movie that people don't like as much, and I couldn't because when I was watching, I was like, this feels kind of in line with Khan. It doesn't have as strong of a villain as
Right.
Khan. Christopher
That's
Lloyd is kind of a little over the top, a little cartoonish, Um, but I don't know. I really dug this one. But getting into the ending, so you have Spock, who they find, and he's a child on the planet,
mhm.
and then he's aging throughout the film, and then you get to the end. What happens to? So is that supposed to be Spock, or is that like a different Spock?
No, it is Spock. So since he died, the planet's about bringing life where there is no life. So since his body was dead, it
On the
basically
planet, sunk
yeah.
down,
Now
and
the
then
thing you have to jump over is, well, why did he start over as a child? There is
yeah.
no real
Well, that's what
explanation.
confused me because I was like, okay, so is this just Spock again? Like he's not going to have any of the memories of his former life, but this is
Exactly.
Spock again, like the same
It,
like genetic materials making
yes,
him up, but he's not going to remember Captain Kirk or any of the Starfleet crew or anything like that.
correct.
So you're saying that I mean, it obviously he remembers Kirk, so
Well, remember,
it is the
he
same
did the
Spock.
remember to McCoy in Star
Okay,
Trek 2. And when he did that, he put his katra, his essence, into McCoy.
so
So that,
Spock did that to McCoy in the second one.
yeah. Yeah. If you remember, just before he went into that chamber
So
and saved the ship and killed himself, right before he
okay.
went in, he took his glove off and he put his hand on
All
McCoy.
right,
He's like,
that's coming
remember.
back to me. It's coming back to me.
And then
So
that
and
put his
so did
yes.
McCoy do that to him at the end of the third one? I forget.
No, then at the end of the third one, they're on the planet Vulcan, and McCoy's laying here, and Spock's laying here, and then the High Priestess, the Vulcan High Priestess, puts her hands on both their faces, so she's sort of like channeling the Katra back into Spock. So she
Okay.
takes the marbles, as McCoy says, your marbles are in here. She took Spock's marbles out of McCoy, put them back into Spock,
So
and then that's when he
Spock put his consciousness into McCoy before he
yes,
died, and
right.
then we're supposed to believe that he could handle that, and then
That's right.
it
That's
gets
right.
put back into him at the end
Just
of the
put it
third
back
one.
in. It's one of them
All
Vulcan
right, it's a
things.
little out there. It's a little out there, but
Yeah.
it works, I
Yeah,
guess.
let it
It
roll.
works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I how do you feel about Search for Spock?
To me, I don't know if fans hated it because they blew up the Enterprise. Like that's a big thing.
I couldn't understand why people would want me to skip this. Like this feels like a very important part of
Oh,
the chapter.
look, for me, they're all worth watching. Like everything has a nice merit, even like the first one, and there's stuff in 5, but we'll get to that. But to me, like blowing up the Enterprise is that's a ballsy move right there. Because the Enterprise is a character just like Kirk, Spock, McCoy, right?
Oh yeah.
That thing has been around since the
It's
show.
like blowing up the Millennium Falcon.
100%. Yeah. And you don't want to see that. If it happens, you're very sad. So that movie ends with the Enterprise gone, And so, yes, you get Spock back, but I think there's a little emptiness that you have at the end of it because cool, man, the crew's back together. Spock's slowly getting his mind back because he stops and he looks at Kirk and he goes, Jim, your name. is Jim. You know, Spock, that's right. I'm Jim. You know, and so that's kind of where it leaves off, and everybody's hugging and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's almost like The Empire Strikes Back, although that was way more kick-ass. You know, like even though that ends with Han being frozen and it's a cliffhanger, and you're like, there's something like very satisfying about The Empire Strikes Back that I think is slightly missing out of Star Trek 3.
Yeah. You think that's what they were going for, like the kind of the downer ending?
I don't know if they were going for a downer ending because they found and got Spock back.
I would say the Wrath of Khan's kind of the downer ending, I guess.
Yeah, Spock's dead. Yeah, exactly. But there was something also very like electric about Star Trek 2. You know, it was filled with like energy and excitement and all this stuff. And despite the sadness at the end, his sacrifice was for the greater good. It's like he says in the thing, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yeah.
Right. And so he is the one. He goes sacrifice.
And then or Kirk has a great line back at him and says the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. That was a fantastic line. I enjoyed that. Did you watch any of the special features on these? I think it's pretty much all the same stuff from the Blu-ray. So have you gone into all this stuff?
Not a ton of them yet. I think when I was looking at them, they look pretty similar.
They got commentary by director Leonard Nimoy and all that stuff. I don't really get into the audio commentaries. I would like to listen to more of them, but it's like rewatching the movie again.
The whole movie just for because some audio commentaries, they're like, oh yeah, that was a cold day on set. I'm like, come on.
The only ones I can really get into are the Kurt Russell and John Carpenter ones.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's some good special features in here, but I'm pretty sure it's all the same stuff. So let's talk about Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. With the Golden Gate Bridge. This is the first time they go back to Earth, right? And I noticed that after this movie, the Golden Gate Bridge pretty much shows up in every Star Trek movie. They're always
well, that is where
San Francisco.
You'll also see it in the motion picture because that's where
it's their home base.
That's the home base, yeah. With the where Starfleet is. So
okay,
Captain, there to be whales, and you got whales in this movie.
You got whales. So they go back home, back to 1986 because they need the whales to save the Earth in their time. What year are they in currently? Is it like 25 something?
It was the 23rd century.
They're in the 23rd century. Okay, so they go back to 1986, San Francisco, and it's humor. This is a fun movie. It's a humorous movie. It's a fish out of water. I imagine that a lot of Star Trek fans probably got a kick out of this one when they saw it in theaters. To see all their beloved Star Trek characters like on Earth in modern time, that had to be kind of fun, right?
Oh yeah, it was the most profitable movie of the original cast because what it did with the humor part of it is it brought in non-Star Trek fans. So, you know, when you got like Spock mind melding with the whale, you know, and all this like crazy stuff and the fish out of water stuff, you know, Chekhov's all like, excuse me, where are the nuclear vessels? Could you tell me where the nuclear, here's a Russian of that time asking for nuclear vessels, right? So the people like, why is this Russian asking me? Yeah. So it's that like they really dialed in that comedy nicely in that film. So
yeah, you got Spock walking around with a bandana looking like kind of old kung fu ninja warrior or something.
That's right.
You got Catherine Hicks in this movie, who's the mom in Child's Play and Seventh Heaven. I thought she was pretty good.
Oh, that's two callbacks then, because Stephen Collins is in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, who went on to Seventh Heaven as the father.
Oh, really?
Look at there.
Well, my goodness. But yeah, the whole plot of this movie is centered around getting whales. Some kind of animal research facility or something.
Yep. It's one of those, you know, water park things that saves marine life. And they have two whales on exhibit, but those whales are going to be taken away very soon.
So this is the one for me that probably felt the most like an episode of television. Just kind of like Elseworld like story with a very simple plot. No real like concrete villain in this movie.
No.
It's actually just the probe that's coming to what was the there was a probe coming to like destroy the Earth or something. The whales had to communicate with it to make it turn around and go back home. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. It's like, you get the hell out of here. Yeah, apparently, like it lost contact with this species because that's, I guess they're saying, this thing is in contact with intelligent life all over the galaxy, and these whales just stopped talking. So this probe is pissed off. Like, it's like, where's my whales at? So it cruises through, and every time it gets near something, it shuts off the electricity, and stuff. And so they had to bring the whales back so they could chat to the probe and say, piss off, probe, we're okay. So the probe's like, yeah, cool, man. So yeah, that's the plot. That's basically it.
So I did enjoy this one.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, this might be controversial, but out of the 5 I watched, this is probably my least favorite.
Yeah, and I can see that because I think
because it was such an odd story, and it was just, you had whales community. It was just odd, and maybe it fits right at home with Star Trek. I don't know.
Well,
and it just struck me as odd that a lot of people feel like that. It seems like everybody was recommending 4. They said 4 is one of the best ones.
I think, Nimoy had a hand in the stories, right, when he was directing them. And at the time, there was a lot of controversy over the killing of whales. There's a lot of that poaching and stuff that was very prominent then. And so I think he's always into adding in something of the time. The same thing happened in Star Trek 6, the Cold War and all that kind of stuff, the feuds that were going on. They infused that story into Star Trek 6. So he also infused this whole, we're basically killing off stuff and the species will be gone forever. So that was his way of answering that by saying, let's do a time travel and go save some whales.
Get the Scotty line again real quick before we move on?
Captain, there be whales.
You wrote that to me in a message, like literally, like when you wrote that, I hadn't got to that part yet. And it was like 2 or 3 minutes later, and he said it, and I'm like, oh, okay, there we go.
Excellent. Yeah.
No, it was fun though. Like, I enjoyed the movie. It was just, I don't know. Like I said, it just felt like an episode of TV rather than a movie. But I mean,
it's also cheap to film because it was planet based. You didn't have a lot of space.
Was this the lowest budget?
I don't know if it was. All of them? I didn't compare budgets or anything like that, but I would surmise that 2/3 of your film is on Earth, so that probably helps really lower that budget a lot. Yeah. That's why it profited so well.
And I don't know if it's because it was taking place on Earth and maybe it didn't have an opportunity to stand out as much, but I thought that this was also the least impressive 4K that I watched. Not saying it's not good. I just don't think it had as many opportunities to shine as some of the other ones did. But all right, are you ready to get into the fan favorite?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, directed by William Shatner. So you had Leonard Nimoy took the reins on 3 and 4, and then I guess old Captain Kirk said, "Hey, let me have a shot at this.
I want a piece of that.
Well, let me get in there and see if I can direct a movie." Yeah. So, in your opinion, did he succeed in directing one of the best Star Trek movies?
There you go.
Of all time.
Did it succeed? Well, like, it was kind of hilarious because the posters in the theater were, "Why are they putting seatbelts in the theater?" And that was the advertisement for Star Trek V. Like, it's some sort of big, epic, like, exciting movie. So that got people like, "Oh, I don't know. Why is it? Why are the seatbelts?"
I did like the beginning when he was free soloing on the El Capitan, and then you had Spock with the feet rockets. He just turned and started zipping towards the ground. It's like, does gravity work that way?
Yeah. Well, not to mention, like, when he grabs him, he's also flying at the same direction. So how can the boots, as they're jetting that way, stop from hitting the ground? Okay, well, let's let it go. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. Oh, but the joke then came around, why are there seatbelts in the theater? And the joke was to keep people from leaving this movie.
So people did not like Star Trek V, huh?
Well, so I don't know if it was, I don't think it was Shatner's call, because I think they just kept trying to trim the budget every single time, to make them cheaper and cheaper. And so they didn't even get Industrial Light and Magic to do the effects. I hate the effects in Star Trek V. It's this guy named Bran Farron. did the effects. And if you watch the effects, oh dear God, they are so awful. He didn't even know how to do the rainbow effect. When the ship goes into warp, he had to hand paint it because he didn't know how they did it. And they weren't going to tell them how they did it. ILM's like, that's our secret. You go, man.
Holy crap. I'm looking it up. It has a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is low. People do not like The Final Frontier. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it more than The Voyage Home. Maybe that makes me weird. Maybe it's just because I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I like the whole brother angle. Who was the guy that played his brother? I thought he was pretty good.
Lawrence Luckenbill. Lawrence Luckenbill played Sybok.
Yeah, I like that actor. I like the whole plot line of them basically searching for God.
Yeah.
They actually find him at the end, which I didn't think was going to happen. Then you see this big like Wizard of Oz face thing that comes out. So I don't know. I had fun with this one. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but I don't know. I liked it slightly better than 4. But
yeah. After watching it again, like super recent, right? Just
when did you watch it? Yesterday morning or something?
Like this week. Yeah, it was like Tuesday or something. Oh no, yeah, yesterday. Or Monday. So it was the thing about Sybok is I feel like the actor told them, yeah, I'll play Sybok, but I'm not doing that whole straight eyebrow thing, and you're not going to tint my skin the same color.
He was very Shakespearean, I feel like.
I liked his performance. You know who was supposed to be in that role?
Who?
Sean Connery. They asked
I
Sean
could see
Connery
that too.
to play Sybok. I would have loved that. That would have just given it a whole different pedigree if Sean Connery said.
But I imagine this movie came out in 1989, so isn't that the same year Last Crusade came out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that was also Batman. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So it had a lot of competition as well. But for me,
Back to the Future 2 came out in 1989.
Oh yeah,
big year.
I have issues with things not fitting the canon. So like, do you remember his eyebrows? Like they didn't just go up like a Vulcan. They went down and then they swung up at the end like this. And all I could think of was that actor won't shave the edges of his eyebrows and do the correct thing. So every time I look at him, all I can see is human eyebrows with a curl at the end. And then his skin looked like ours. It was human colored skin. And Vulcans are supposed to have sort of a pale yellow. So if you look at Nimoy, he's actually got makeup on. So I'm like, what's Luck? And Luckenbill is a pure Vulcan. Well, right? Like you find out that they're brothers, and but
they got different mothers, right?
He was Sarek's son from a different mother, but there was no indication that mother was human as well. So, and I haven't dug into the lore, but because they said his mother was a Vulcan queen or high priestess or something like that. So that means he's 100% Vulcan, and yet doesn't have the skin tone of a Vulcan. So little things like that. That's the Trekkie in you that goes, that's bullshit.
Yeah. You know? And I imagine that's the same for a lot of people, but I don't know. I mean, 22% on Rotten Tomatoes would lead me to believe that people just think this is a bad movie, no matter the inconsistencies with the Vulcan lore and all that. But I don't know. I didn't get that 100%, I guess. There are some goofy moments in this one, but to be honest, there's some goofy moments in the fourth one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's lots of goofy moments in the fourth one. Yeah.
So, I mean, I liked that they dug into Spock's backstory a little bit and that he had a family, and that kind of played into his relationship with Kirk again. And I liked how Kirk got pissed at him because he didn't kill him when he had the chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that whole thing with them. And he's like, I can't shoot him. He's family. It's like, and then
that's when he found out.
Yeah. So I like that whole dynamic. So I don't know. I mean, it's not the best Star Trek movie, but I thought this one was okay.
But you know, that's where I think Shatner shined in the movie, actually. I mean, despite me not putting it very high, the things I loved the most was the intimate moments he directed very well. In fact, I thought a lot of his shots were very well composed. I
like the scenes with them around the campfire and stuff like
that. They're singing row your boat. Yeah. I mean, those are the little things I love too. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, they're singing row your boat. It's so stupid. I'm like, no, that's what makes it good, because that's their characters having that intimate moment. Yeah. So yeah.
I'm looking at Voyage Home, and that has an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I mean, Rotten Tomatoes isn't the end all be all, but it's a good
Right.
aggregator of what the general consensus is. So, it has an 82%. This has a 22%. That's 60% difference.
Wow.
I just can't see that disconnect between the two. So, what do you think it is? Is it just?
Well, I
It
think
feels cheaper.
Well, it definitely feels
I mean,
cheaper.
we're talking
because
about a movie with whales as your main driving force of the plot. Whales saving the earth.
But at the time, coming off of that, it was a big high because it was their most successful. It was very funny. So the alternate audience, the audience that wasn't as into Star Trek,
kind of
went
like
to go
their
see
Wonder
it.
Woman or something.
What's that? Like, yeah.
Kind of like their Wonder Woman. That was like a fish out of water.
Yeah. So I think just when this one came around, because it was so heady, and I think also the fact that you're involving God, it gets very touchy when you start putting God in stuff. In fact,
I can see that.
Roddenberry wanted God in the motion picture, and they put the brakes on that. They said, look, that's a hard sell in certain markets. And then, of course, it's just it wasn't God. It was just like this entity that was
well,
stuck
it was the same. It was him, right? It was Spock's brother. What did you say his name was? Sybok?
Sybok, yeah.
It was him, wasn't it? Wasn't it the same guy that was playing or was it somebody different? It looked like him.
It did look like him.
Was that somebody different?
I want to say it's somebody different.
I kept waiting for them to like reveal the actual guy behind the curtain or something.
Right.
He just projected himself and it was going to go full Wizard of Oz.
But
yeah, I thought it was I thought it was cool how the spaceship almost got Spock and then he jumped out of the way and it shot him, took him out.
It's funny. There's a Klingon, and talk about thinking an actor was the same. So remember on the planet when they showed up and there's David Warner. David Warner was there. He played 2 roles. He was in Star Trek 6 as well.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that when we got to Star Trek 6 because I recognized that. I recognized that actor. The first thing I ever saw him in was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 because he plays the scientist guy. But I was like, is that the same damn actor that was in the 5th one?
Yeah. So there was a Klingon Cord in it. He's kind of big, chubby Klingon. I could have sworn I said, "Oh my God, that's James Doohan, Scotty." I'm like, that's Scotty dressed up as a Klingon. They're giving him 2 roles to play. But then as it went on, and of course they were in the same shot together, I'm like, oh, that's not Scotty. He's actually even bigger than Scotty. I'm like, oh, it's not Scotty.
Does Scotty get bigger and bigger as the movies progress? It feels like.
I think once he hits his weight in 4 and 5, it stays there. But
it's pretty steady.
Yeah, it was an actor.
Not the fat shame. I don't want to do that around here.
Right.
I get bigger by the day as well, so I get it.
I know. George Murdoch played God in that movie, so it was not the same actor.
It was It was a different actor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this one. I'd say I enjoyed it on the same line as I enjoyed 4. I definitely didn't like it as much as I liked 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But let's get into one that I feel like is another fan favorite, right? Right?
Yeah.
So in 1991, this movie came out, and I feel like Nicholas Meyer came in, or is it Meyer? Nicholas Meyer. Did I say that correctly? Okay.
Yeah.
So he came in and said, "Okay, so the boys are done playing. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy got their due, and now I'm going to come back and direct a good Star Trek movie again." With Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, Part 6.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, I really enjoy Star Trek 6 because this one's got Christopher Plummer. So to me, it's that same sort of pedigree that you had with Ricardo Montalban, but this time you get to let Kirk and Chang act in the same scenes together, and that's always kind of juicy to watch 2 actors like that go at it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has a lot of throwbacks to the original series. Like a lot of sound effects are in there, a lot of like doors swishing open, everything. It's like they try to put as much of the feels from it in the very last one, and it gave everyone kind of something to do. So they all had kind of their moment. And yeah.
I mean, which is interesting because before all these came out, I just assumed that the 6th one was probably the worst one and that was just a cash grab at that point. So it is interesting to watch this and be like, oh, they actually were trying really hard at this point to make another good Star Trek movie heading into the 90s. So obviously, probably my only problem with this movie is by this point, I don't know, how old would you say William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and all the actors are they're pretty good age, and I
Yeah.
don't completely buy into them doing all this stuff that they do in this movie, but I don't know. I guess it works okay.
Let's see, 80, then Shatner's 90. So yeah, he's probably in his 60s, maybe late 60s, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, they also address it too. Spock even says, "Have we gotten so old, you and I, that we've outlived our usefulness?" Yeah. And I'm like, God, that's a great line. That's a great line. Yeah.
And there's a good little mystery that's kind of set up at the beginning of this, with them trying to settle their differences with them and the Federation and the Klingons. And they're almost at peace. And then a shot from the ship is fired, and they're trying to figure out like where it came from and trying to figure out who actually boarded their ship and took everybody out. I will say, when watching this in 4K, when they're shooting everybody and all the blood and stuff, is that like classic, like super awful CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it jumps out at you as CGI. Yeah, it didn't help that it was pink too, like Pepto-Bismol pink. Like, why are Klingons pink blood? But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they have pink blood all throughout the rest of the series.
I guess they would have to. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like when Worf bleeds in The Next Generation, was it pink?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I like this one. I thought this one was a good one for sure. Like you said, Christopher Plummer does play a really good villain. The only question I had was, I was trying to figure out by the end, is the girl is the Klingon that died's daughter, was she in on it too?
No, that's why when
we had Kim Cattrall in here, so she was in on it,
right? And that was supposed to be Saavik. That was supposed to be Kirstie Alley's character.
Was it the same name?
No, Valeris is her name. Okay, so it's definitely a different character. But I think they tried to get Kirstie Alley back, and if they couldn't get Kirstie, then they just changed it. So yeah, that's why they get a new.
She was hot shit by this time. She was
cheersing it up.
She was doing It Takes Two with the Olsen twins and whoever else. But yeah.
And it starts with a bang, Klingon moon exploding right at the top, and that's when you see Sulu's got his own ship and he rides the wave, almost like a surfer. Yeah. He's like, turn into the wave.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. I feel like there's more to talk about with this movie, but I just thought this was a really solid Star Trek movie. What's the difference between the director's cut and the theatrical cut? Like 4 minutes.
Yeah, you get a little bit more in this one regarding some of the people that and it's not, I would say you get a little bit more out of the Star Trek 2 director's cut because of Scotty, the little kid. Because I watched the director's cut, I'm trying to remember in Star Trek 2 when you watched it, remember the young lad that was in engineering? Did he die in that cut?
In the
in the theatrical cut
of The Undiscovered Country?
No, of Star Trek II Wrath of Khan. Remember that there was a young kid who stayed at his post, and when Khan's shooting at the ship, he gets killed. I don't know if they focused on that. Yeah, because I see the other one so much that I don't.
I'm just struggling to remember the plots of these movies because I watched them all together within 2 weeks. So I'm like, was that in this movie or that movie?
Yeah. So this one just had a little bit more conspiracy stuff, and I don't think it was a ton that changed anything. Whereas Star Trek 2, you got a little bit more relationship that you learned that the young cadet that did die was Scotty's nephew. So that was kind of a sweet thing that you lose in the theatrical cut. But yeah, this one, had a good supporting cast too. I liked David Warner as Chancellor Gorkon. That's right. I know names. I'm weird like that.
I will say, just looking at this series, so you had, what's her name? Nichelle Nichols?
Nichelle Nichols, yeah.
So was she a big deal like in the actual TV show?
Yeah. Oh, huge.
Character?
Oh, huge. In fact, her presence, just having an
I
African
imagine
American on
first
the
black
show,
female on a show like
oh,
that,
like
high
she was
profile
ready to
show.
walk off the show, and
Yeah.
after season 1, and then she went to a party where Dr. Martin Luther King was there, and somebody came up to her and said, "Hey, he wants to talk to you." She's like, "He wants to talk to me?" Like he goes, "Yeah." So she goes and talks to him, and they start talking about Star Trek. And she says, "Yeah, I want to leave the show. It's not a lot for me to do. I'm just talking on the thing and saying, 'Yes, Captain,' and hailing frequencies open." And he goes, "Oh my God, you can't leave that show. That you are an inspiration to every black child on this planet that looks up and sees you
Yeah.
as an equal on that ship with all these white people and stuff. You're sitting up there, and you show them that it changes. Like we become something. Like in the future, bigotry goes away, prejudice goes away, that kind of stuff, and we need that represented." And so, because of that, she's like, "Oh, all right." So she stayed
I'll say.
because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so was she pretty much doing that during the original run of the TV show, just doing the comms and stuff like that? Or did they
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
give her
Yeah.
anything to do in the actual show? Because that was going to be my one complaint. I was like, I like that she was there, but I wish they would have gave her something to do in all 6 of these movies, because I feel like she just sat there at the computer. She got a little bit of a storyline with Scotty in the
Scotty.
last
Yeah.
2 films. I feel like they were kind of romantically involved.
And then she
And there
got
was the
she got
whole
the
dance
fan
moment.
dance.
Yeah.
Woo!
That was pretty funny too.
What was the conversation between
So I guess they were
Nichelle and
starting.
Kirk?
Yeah, I guess they were starting to do something with her in the last 2 movies, but I wish they would have gave her a little bit more and just kind of realized what they had and the significance of it, and just gave her a little bit more in those
Well,
movies.
I feel like Nichelle's definitely the one that got the short end of the stick, because the moment that you could have given her something to really shine. So in the J.J. Abrams movies, right, and even on the new TV show, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Uhura is a linguistic expert. She speaks many languages, right? And she's fluent in many of them. And so in Star Trek 6, when the Klingons call in, and they're like, and they're trying to look up the thing in the book, and they're like, Kronos va, Rin, and then the Klingons just start laughing. And she, laughs and then turns the button off. I'm like, that was the moment that other people should have been looking through the books, trying to communicate, sounding like dill holes. And Uhura just walks in, shoves them away, closes the book, and speaks perfect Klingon in that moment and seals the deal, right? That's when you could have given her something really special, because that's what she does. That's what her character does. So for me, they went for the silly joke, well, let's look up the Klingon. Like, they got a lot of Klingon books around, land on the Enterprise, really? But, and books. Why books? It's like this, the Enterprise. You should have it on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Undiscovered Country, that had an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I guess this kind of brought the franchise back for a lot of people. It was pretty well received back in 1991, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It
was a
Trekkie
good
fans
closer.
were on a high back in 1991. We're back.
We're back. And it closes with the autographs. William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy.
Closes with or actually starts with in memory of Gene Roddenberry, right?
Gene. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess he had passed away between Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then when would the Next Generation come out?
87.
So that 87 is when the Next Generation came on.
So there was a big overlap. Yeah. So that was on TV while this was in the theaters, which is why when this ended, Star Trek Next Generation ended in 7 years, 94, right? Would that be right? That's why they rolled right into a movie almost right away. So, I mean, that cast didn't get any sleep because they did a huge 2-parter series finale. And then we're right back at work the next.
When was Generations? Was that 95?
Was it 95? Yeah.
That's when they brought Shatner in, and I'm assuming Nimoy as well.
No, Nimoy wouldn't do it.
Really?
No, because all it was just fan service. It was just 3 characters. And if you think about it, only Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov show up on the ship, it's so like they're doing this christening thing, and it's Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off was he was the captain. So it was a little weird going, really, Cameron? And so Nimoy's like, no, there's no need for me to be in this movie. And same thing with the other one. The DeForest was out, he was done. And although I kind of forget, he died sort of mid-90s too. I wonder when he passed away.
But Shatner, he's not above making a buck though. Shatner,
never, man.
He's on
at all.
At Priceline.com and everything else.
Exactly.
But okay,
94, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then Insurrection and Nemesis and all that stuff.
Well, no, yeah, First Contact came after this one.
Oh, First Contact. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was the biggest. Yeah, just 4.
4 next generation ones.
That was it. And First Contact was the most successful for that franchise.
Yeah, I remember all those coming out when I was a kid and stuff. But just putting a bow on these originals, how would you rank these?
How would I rank them? For me,
we talked about them all.
All right, you're gonna have to rank them too. So
I'm gonna rank the ones I've seen.
I'm gonna go 2, 6, 4, 3, the motion picture, and 5. That would be my rank.
3 motion picture and 5. So I would go 2, 3, 6, 5, and 4. That would be mine. Now, obviously, I can't rank the motion picture yet. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it yet.
But yeah,
I'd be really curious when you see that, what you think, because it's
I'd be my favorite one.
Tone. It's a whole different tone, feel. The pace is just wrong, but it is the most cinematic of all 6.
Yeah, quite possibly. It could be my favorite one.
I doubt it.
I'm gonna try to review it when I get it in. But look, this was fun. This is fun talking about Star Trek with somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. It's not just me hanging out and trying to get names down and actors' names and
if I bone
alien races and all that stuff.
Right. And if any Trekkie or Trekker out there catches I screwed up, whatever. I did my best. You'll be
fine. They'll jump all over me for saying track in the first 5 minutes. That's all anybody will hear. I just shut off I think I had somebody comment. I just shut off the video after you said track. I just said I was done. I was like, come on.
Wow.
Give me a break. But yeah, Star Trek.
Yeah, Trek. Yeah. Look, you got to roll with that. I've heard enough people, even growing up, because I'm from the South too. So those people, it's Star Trek's on. I'm like, yeah, it is. So gosh, coming down on somebody because I say track.
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here. Talking all the Star Trek movies and the 4Ks and stuff. They all looked fantastic. All these 4Ks, I would absolutely recommend. I'll link them all down below in the description. All of them I'd recommend except for the first one because I haven't seen it yet. All look fantastic.
Which one are you getting? Which one are you getting? Are you getting the regular? Or are you getting the big box?
I didn't get the big box again. Yeah. I hadn't seen the damn movie. I ain't gonna spend $100 on it.
You never know. We can. You got product. You got to show off.
I tried to take it easy this month. We shot the audit today, and I did really good. I'll do a tease for that. I did really good. We'll just say that.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I'll let you promote yourself and your channel real quick. Let everybody know what you're all about before we get out of here. Or what you're all about over at Huck's Pop Culture Cafe.
Right on. Thanks, Ken. Well, it was a ton of fun being on here. Thanks for talking Star Trek. I could do it all day, every day. And come on over to my channel. It's always hopping. It's got something going on. I try to post tons of videos at least every week. Not every day like Ken, he's a rock star, but several videos per week. We do box office breakdowns, Blu-ray hunts, trivia contest. By the way, this is what I'll just promote right now. Next week, I got them, Ken. I got The Girls. I don't know when this is going to air, but whenever it airs, if it's already aired, go back and look at it.
It'll air before that.
But there is a trivia contest next week, and it's all horror Halloween themed. And it's an all-girl battle. We got Mel, we got Mika, we got Sue, and we got Miss Jess, which I'm so pumped that we're going to be doing that next week. So come see it, y'all. It's going to be great.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I could not recommend Huck's channel enough, guys. Hit that link down below.
Thanks,
Go
kid.
Subscribe. I'll try to find that Star Trek video, the convention one that you have, and try to link that down below as well.
Yeah.
So everybody can check it
I'll
out.
Send it to you.
But yeah, this was fun. Give me some feedback in the comment section below if you like these kind of pre-recorded conversations. I might start doing more of these because I actually had a lot of fun doing this. Not live, not having to worry about a chat or anything like that. Just kind of locked in on the conversation. It was really cool. So yeah, let us know how you like it down below. Like the video, subscribe to our channels, and all that good stuff. Comment your rank. What's your ranking of the Star Trek franchise? Let us know in the comment section below. See you guys later.